Hey, and welcome to another Front-End Engineering Explained. This one is a little different and not so much about front-end engineering specifically in a way it is. Also not explaining a specific topic. I'm more looking at something new in the AI world. So for the longest time, AI has been around now for quite some time, right? We're in 2025, so it's not new anymore, but it's still evolving really, really fast. And love it, hate it, indifferent to it, it's not going away and it keeps advancing. So, we have to kind of keep at least a eye on what's happening here. And I do feel that what it means to be a developer, what it means to be a programmer is changing and changing quite a bit and changing pretty fast. And if we don't keep up with this kind of stuff, you might find yourself on the wrong side of the employment or even, creating your own business side of things. So one of my favorite tools, and it's clear that this is pretty much everybody's favorite, especially when it comes to coding, is the Claude model from Anthropic. And for, I don't know even how long, maybe a year now, I don't know, it feels like they're definitely taking a slower pace than everybody else, which is not a bad thing. And it's quite impressive, you would think that people would kind of, be a little concerned if you see like other companies that's basically your competitors releasing stuff on a much faster clip than you, and you might think you might become irrelevant, stuff like that. But I think Anthropic is taking a pretty good approach here, and I also think they realize that they've hit a rather sweet spot here with how popular and how good their model is for developers, that they've kind of like doubled down on this. And what's come out of this is now the most recent release, like 2 or 3 days ago, Claude 3.7 Sonnet. The previous one was 3.5. And again, there's some videos on YouTube from the folks who are really into AI stuff and really know this stuff well, who talks about specifically this model update and saying that 3.5 to 3.7, it's a much bigger deal than what it sounds. If you just look at the version change, it's not like 3.5 to 4. It seems like just a 0.2, which normally doesn't signify a big upgrade to anything previous. This is a big one. But another tool that they've released is this thing called Claude Code. It's essentially this tool you can run inside your terminal, and it helps you as a co-developer. We've seen a lot of these things before. Many of you probably use Cursor, Windsurf, Copilot within VS Code, or maybe Augment Code within VS Code, or I think there's one called Clarity or something like that. So there's a whole bunch of these. But the interesting thing for me, when I looked at the Claude Code demo, is basically this idea that it has the entire context of your repository in mind, and it's also a thinking model. So instead of it just like doing a one pass and try to get you an answer, it kind of iterates by itself over things. It hits an error, it thinks about the error, it tries to see how it can resolve that error, and keeps going and keeps going. So, of course, there's a lot of excitement. Of course, there's a lot of, this is the end of programming. No, it's somewhere in the middle. But I'm curious about this, right? And this does use the Claude API directly. So you don't need a Claude.ai like pro subscription or anything to use this, but you do need to add funds to you need an account on console.claude.ai, I think. And you need to add some money there. So I don't have a bunch of money to spend on this kind of stuff. So first I thought, crap, this is another thing I'm not going to be able to try. But I've seen a bunch of people like do some stuff, and so one of the things you can do that we'll also have a look at is you can do like these slash commands. And one of them is you can do slash cost, and then it will tell you like how much you've used so far. So, you know, you can keep track of your usage. So I've added $5. It looks like most people are getting quite a lot done with like $1 and less than that. So let's see. But I wanted to do some things a little differently. So I want to add a real feature, like a feature that I really want to build to this MakerBench, which is a side project of mine. I'll talk now about what it is exactly and what the feature is. But then I also want to take a slightly different approach to how I'm going to interact with Claude and Claude Code here specifically. So MakerBench used to be called Developer Tool Chest. I changed the name because the tools in here are not just for developers. There's a bunch of design tools, other stuff like typography and iconography and things like that also. So it's a wider audience, so I thought to call it MakerBench. Also, the domain name expired and I didn't renew it because money. And so I thought, you know, it doesn't matter anymore. So it just runs on makerbench.netlify.app. It's deployed to there. It's written in React. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't use any fancy React stuff, only a couple of small things. And essentially what it does is, I mean, let me open it up in a tab and we can see the logo and stuff still says Developer Tool Chest here. But you can tag tools and then you can search on those tags, right? So if you search for the tag REPL, then anything in this database, which we'll, in quotes, which we'll see in a second, that is tagged with REPL, it's going to pull up, right? And so this is an open source thing. Anybody can add, contribute to it. As you can see, quite a few people have contributed to it, but I still think more people would contribute if contributing or adding, more specifically suggesting a tool, was easier. Because right now what you have to do is you have to fork the project, then you have to go into this public folder here, and then you have to go into tools.json, and then right at the bottom you have to go to the bottom. You can see there's quite a few tools in here already. There's like 168. You want to edit this file, and then you want to add a new one of these, and you want to provide, like, you want to increment the ID, and then put the title of the tool, the URL where you can find it, a short description. If you're adding a logo, you put the file name here. Alt text is generally not necessary. You can provide it, but because the image is purely decorative, we just leave it as an empty string. So, you know, screen readers will just ignore the image, and they're not going to lose anything. And then you can add some tags that you think would be keywords that you would probably in the future use to try and find this tool again. Of course, it also searches on the title of the tool. So when a search is done, it searches on the title, and it also searches through all the tags to find matches. Okay, so you have to do that. Then if you're also adding a logo, you have to grab that logo, and then you have to go in here and you have to upload it into here. So you can do a PNG or SVG, also WebP, AVIV. So, you know, anything that can be displayed on the web, but a preference for SVG, WebP, and AVIV, as those are modern and best performing, gives you the best performance when using images. So you have to do all those things, right? And then you have to open a pull request, and then the pull request gets reviewed, and if everything looks good, then it's merged. So it's not that bad, but it can be better. Let's put it that way. It can be better. And so I created this issue not long ago. What was this? Last week. Say, make it easier to suggest the tool. And I was thinking, like, what if when you come to the page, there was a button that says suggest the tool. When you click on it, it opens a dialog. And in the dialog, you can provide some of that information, like the title, the URL. You can also link to the GitHub repository or GitLab or I forget, Codeberg or any of those. That doesn't matter, any of those. So there'll be a field for that as well. It's totally optional. So you can provide all the information, and you can upload a logo if you are specifying one. And then my thinking was, well, then what happens? Because as you can see, there's no real database behind this. It's just a JSON file. So you basically have to create another entry in the JSON. And I was like, you could probably do this this is hosted on Netlify. There's these Netlify functions, which is like these serverless functions, right? That's written in Node. So I was thinking, maybe you could use that, and it can you can submit the form to this Netlify function, which we then get everything, including the actual logo, so the file. And then you could potentially write the file to disk into the right folder, and you can update the JSON and write that back to disk. And then that would cause a change. So you have to create a new branch. That's something like new tool with the name of the tool in there or something, the branch can be called. And then when you make these changes, you can do a git add, git commit, and a git push, right, to the repo. These are all like, I'm thinking in my head, this should all be possible. And then using the GitHub API, you could then open a pull request. So for the user, they're just completing a form and hitting suggest tool. And then behind the scenes, all this stuff happens and it ends up with a pull request. Now, there's some things that's not so cool about that from a contributor perspective, and that is that the pull request doesn't come from them, right? So one will have to find a way to work around that, because maybe you'll use a bot account or something like that as the user, the GitHub user that's opening these pull requests. Or it can use my maybe access token or something, and then it's as if I did it. But again, like I said, that kind of sucks because it looks like I'm adding all these tools, right, when it's not just me doing it. But it's better, and you can iterate on that. You can see how you can make it better. Maybe you can attribute a pull request to somebody through the GitHub API. I don't know, maybe just mentioning the person's GitHub username in the pull request description could be good enough, because when you generate a change log, their usernames would be in there. I don't know. This is something that I can, for example, ask the community how they would feel about it, how they would like to be recognized for their contributions. There's many ways one can get around that. But so there's a lot going on here, right? And I thought, like, this is an interesting one to see how far can I get with Claude Code doing this. So that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to try and see how far we can get. So in the past couple of days, in preparation for this, I merged all the open pull requests, so all the dependencies and stuff are up to date now. But the other thing that you can also do with Claude Code, because it sits inside the folder where all your code is you can kind of tell it as a first pass, look over the project and get an understanding. Again, I have to put that in double quotes or air quotes. Get an understanding of the code and what this project does and how it currently works. Yes, and tell me what you've learned, so that I can kind of read over it and see if it got a good grasp of what this is. And how it currently fits together. And again, if we look at the actual source, it's really, there's not a lot going on, right? There's an app.jsx that is pretty much the bulk of everything. There's some React use effects in there. There's some JSX in there. And then, let's see, there's some UI, and like it's a logo, right? And then in here, we have just some very simple components. Like, I mean, this is like 5 lines, right? So, and there's like search results, which again, there's nothing super complicated happening here. There's sponsor card, suggestions. So this is as you type, it uses a data list to just basically say, these are some of the tags that exist. Maybe one of these is what you were looking for, and you can just select it and it will do a search on using that tag. This is just displaying tags, and then I think this might be the one that's possibly the most involved. Oh no, this is just the search input. So, you know, it's not a lot going on here. It's not a complicated project. Cool. So that was almost 15 minutes of yakking. But that gives you all the understanding you need, and also what I'm trying to achieve here. So I already started, I installed it and authenticated and all this kind of stuff. And then when I read through all these things, it said here, point 3, provide clear context. And this was interesting to me because I do have a specific idea of how I wanted to approach this. And it says, be as specific as you would with another engineer. The better the context, the better the results. So, I don't know if I have this open in VS Code. I hope I do. No, I don't. Let's see if I can quickly, whoops, where did my, there we go. Let's just do that. Because what I did is I wrote this file called spec.md. I've seen a lot of people, for example, type like 2-3 lines and then say off you go, right? And I think that's fine, but I don't know, like I've read a couple of people's ideas behind this and how our job as developers will change. And I think one of the things that where we will still be very much needed is writing these design documents, because you're talking from the perspective of what's the problem and what's the possible solution, and some even technical ideas of implementation, right? So I wanted to go beyond just 3 or 4 lines, and it actually lines up quite well with what it says here. Be as specific as you would with another engineer. Like, I wouldn't tell an engineer for the most part, like, what's, for example, in that issue, you know, that I had here. I wouldn't generally give this to a developer and say, cool, go off and figure this out, especially somebody that's never worked on this project before, which technically is what Claude is, right? So here is what I did. I said, suggest the tool, that's the feature. I give it just a quick one-liner about what this tool is, and that it uses a JSON document, and also where it is in the structure, the code structure, and then what an entry looks like. And then I make a note about the logo being optional and some stuff about that, and then I talk about the challenge. Like, at the moment you have to do that whole thing, and that I suspect is part of the reason why there's so few contributions, and then a possible solution. So when the user lands there, there's a button, you click the button. I was very specific here, an HTML dialog modal that I want to use, not pull in a React library for this, but actually just let's stick with the one that you get from HTML. It's great, it's quick, fast, easy to implement. And then a form inside that modal, and here I say the fields it should contain: title, URL, description, logo, tag, and repository, and also what type of inputs, like a text input with type URL, text area, file input, which is optional with a max size of 1 megabyte. Also only accept these file formats. Tag, which is a text input that users can type in a comma separated list of tags. And then the repository, again, a text input with type URL, let's say here, which is optional. Okay, when a user submits the form, the data should be sent to an Netlify serverless function that will validate the data, save the logo, add the tool to the JSON file, ensure the ID is unique and incremented by 1, create a new commit, create a pull request, and send an email to the maintainer of the repository, which is me, with the details of the new tool. And then some additional notes. Before getting started, take a moment to get familiar with the existing code base and the technologies used. When the user submits the form, they should see a success message, and the form should reset to its initial state. If there are any errors, the form should be updated to show the errors. The dialog should also contain a close button. While this web app is written in React, aim to use as much of the standard web platform as possible and only lean on React and other external libraries as needed, and when it will make the task easier. Accessibility of all functionality should be top of mind for the implementation, and ensure that there are tests in place, because this is also something that I can do, and also that it's supposedly, and from what I've seen, good at. And I already have some Playwright tests here that I can tee off of. And then here's some success criteria. User can suggest a tool, the form is validated, user is informed of any errors, the tool is added to the JSON, a pull request is created, an email is sent, the form resets after successful submission, the dialog can be closed, the implementation is accessible, and there are tests in place to validate the functionality. Then in closing, once the work of this feature is complete, please commit and push all the changes to GitHub and create a pull request for the work, right? And then I'm saying there is an issue on GitHub for this. Please ensure that the work is done on a feature branch that is named this, for example. And then I just say here, ignore the details on the issue and focus on what's been discussed here. And then at the end, I just say, I will review the changes and provide feedback as needed. Once everything is good to go, I will merge the changes to deploy the new version of MakerBench. Thank you for your hard work on this feature. So very much like you would, this you could give to a developer and they can pretty much get the job done. They may have questions here and there. And of course, when I speak with Claude, I will inform him, that if there's any clarifying questions to please ask me. So with that, I think we're ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, have a look at the code at the repository and please tell me what you learn from looking at the code. But I'm going to tell it to ignore the file spec.md for the moment. Then it'll do some stuff and it'll come back to me. I'll probably do a cost just to see what that costs for interest sake. And then I will go and then ask it to do this. And basically for this, I'm going to say, great, now I want to implement a new feature. There is a file at the root of the repository or the project called spec.md. Please read over everything to ensure you understand what it is that I need and what the success criteria is for this feature. And in there I will say, and then please go ahead and implement the feature and ask at any point if you have any clarifying questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. Okay, this is the plan. Let's see how far we get. Right. Do you trust the files in this folder? Yes. Okay, so now we're in here. So I'm going to say, please read over the code in this project to get more familiar. Ignore the file spec.md for the moment and let me know what you have learned about the current project once you are done. And then I guess I just press enter. Right, there it goes. Let's see what happens. And you can see the thinking thing, right? Ah, it's looking at the tools.json. Interesting. Looking at the tests. Okay, the main app TSX, JSX. Okay. So npm test, run project test, define and package JSON. Do you want to proceed? I think it wants to run the test. They're going to fail. This might be okay because it might then want to fix them, but I'm not sure that I want to detract it from that. Okay, let's say no. What were you able to learn from the code? All right, let's have a look. MakerBench is a web application that serves as a searchable directory of developer tools and resources. Yeah, Q features built with React 19 and Vite. I can see why it thinks it's React 19 because that's what the dependencies say. Uses Flex Search. Yep, that's correct. Uses React Router. Yep. Responsive design with a clean UI. I hope so. Tools are stored in JSON format. Problems like ID, The main production data is in tools. 168. A smaller test data file is used for testing. Perfect. Component structure. Main is developer tool chest. Yep. Follows atomic design. Yep. Includes search. Yep. Uses Playwright. Test, verify basic functionality. Page title. Search input presence. Test, checks that queries return expected results. Uses Flex Search document indexing for efficient searching by both tags and tool titles. Updates URL parameters for bookmarkable searches. Handles empty results friendly message. Because we recently updated with the latest React dependencies based on the Git branch name, diagnose and fix test. There might be some issues with the test that needs to be addressed. This is, yeah. That is great. You are also correct concerning the tests, but let's ignore those for the moment. Okay. What I want us to do is implement a new feature for developer tool chest, now known as MakerBench. In order to facilitate, in order to help you get going on this new feature, I wrote a design document of sorts. You will find this at the root of the project in a file called spec.md. Please take a moment to read over this so that you have a clear understanding of the need and a possible way of solving it. Sure. Then please go right ahead and start implementing the feature. If at any time you have clarifying questions for me, do not hesitate to ask. Thank you and good luck. Let's do this. Shucking. Whatever that means. Okay, let's see. So, read suggested tool, blah, 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 blah. Now I understand the feature requirements. I implement suggested tool functionality for MakerBench with a model form that allows users to easily propose new tools. Let's start by creating the React components for the dialog modal and form. Okay, and it's going to go and it's going to create that new branch, which is super, exactly what I want. Yes. Already exists. Let's see what happens. Listing branch. So now it wants to check it out. Perfect. Create a new component. Okay. Source UI molecule suggest tool creates. Yep. Yeah, creating it in the molecules directory makes sense. Woof. Okay. Now let's see what all of this is. That's a lot. Okay, so index.jsx. Okay, we're importing React, importing CSS. Suggest tool dialog is open on close. Use ref form data. Okay. He's submitting submit success. Const dialog is open and dialog and not open. Show modal, yeah. Else if it's open, close. Return. It's cleaning up here at the end. If dialog close, okay. Okay. Handle input change. Okay, so it's using control components. Name value files, target. Yeah, that makes sense. If name, logo, and files are length. Okay, validate the size and type. Okay. Set error, file size exceeded. If not valid types, only ping, SVG, WebP, and AVA formats are allowed. Set the form data. Spreading the previous stuff, adding the logo. Clear the errors. Interesting. Okay, so it's using an object. Okay. Set form data. Okay. Validate form. Yeah, there's the object. If it doesn't have a title, title's required. If there's no URL, the URL is required. Else, please enter a valid URL. Okay. It's interesting that it's doing this because a lot of this you can rely on the browser to do, but it's not a bad thing that it's like kind of taken over and doing it. It'd just be interesting to see on the form whether it's added the attribute no validate, because otherwise the browser is going to do the validation also. Okay. Handle submit, put in default. If the form is invalid, return. Okay. Prepare data for submission, new form data. This is good. So you could have thrown the form into here, but because there's a file upload field, it's going to not work right, because what's going to happen is, according to the spec, it's going to stringify that, and it's going to end up being object, and that's completely useless. So the way it's doing this is definitely the way to go. It's also, we can see here it's doing some of that stuff. Here also it's doing, creating an array out of our tags. And so this is where it's going to stick the netlify, and that's where it should be, post and submitting the data. If it fails, if it did fail, then it's going to get the message failed to submit tool suggestion. Okay, otherwise it's successful. Reset the form. This is interesting. It uses a timeout. And it waits for 3 seconds. Okay, interesting. Then it does a console error. It's fine. I didn't give it a better option to do that. I'm not using something like Sentry, for example. Otherwise, instead of a console error, we would rather pass it off to Sentry and not log this to the console, because otherwise anybody that opens the DevTools can see your errors. And sometimes you can accidentally leak some information. I've seen this with some sites where I've couldn't click on a button, for example. I open the developer tools and I see the errors and I start finding stuff I shouldn't be privy to. So cool. And then finally, it just always makes sure that it sets is submitting to false. That looks good. Here's our reset form. Okay, which resets the data object as well, resets the errors. Okay. Here we have our dialog, class name on close, H2, suggest the tool button. Okay, this is interesting. It could have used a form here and used the method equals dialog, and then you didn't need any JavaScript, but hey-ho, we're in JavaScript world, so Not super that it's using just an X here. I mean, it's okay, but also there's there's an ARIA label, so that's good. That's good. Might have been nice if it pulled in some SVGs. To be fair, I said that it should try to avoid doing stuff like that and just pulling in dependencies, so fair. So here's if submit success. Thank you for your suggestion. Your tool has been submitted for review and will be added to MakerBench soon. Nice. Primary button, close. Okay. And here's our form. No validate. Why do I think it's all lowercase? I don't think it matters. But perfect. So it's telling the browser not to validate, and it's going to do it. ARIA required, ARIA invalid. Interesting. Described by. Ah, okay. Nice. All right, that looks good. That looks good. Yeah, it's using my form group class. That is nice. So label HTML4 title, ID and text value. Ah, okay, nice. On change handle. Very cool. All right. Input, blah, blah, blah. Looks good. Text area, rows 4. Okay. So it's gonna, if there's errors, it's gonna add a paragraph with the description in there. Logo optional. Nice. I like that it's doing it like this, and not using little stars everywhere with like a legend somewhere. Like I prefer like telling people like this. It's much better for accessibility. Like what we're accepting, that looks good. Here's our messages. It looks like it shows the help text by default. There isn't anything that suggests otherwise. It might even be linking to this if it shows an error. We'll see. Tag. Okay, so it's showing example there. Okay, repo optional, nice. Button type button, that's, wait a minute. Cancel button, interesting, it didn't, there we go, type submit, okay, perfect. Yeah, this looks good. Let's roll. Let's see what it's doing. Because technically this is the easy part, right? It's still impressive, I'm not gonna lie, this is impressive. But let's see what's happened. It's written some CSS. I would do this differently. Significantly differently, but it's okay. I'll let this slide. It's added the backdrop, that's nice, like that. I feel like I might have some utility classes that's missing here, but I might not, I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna be okay with this just because, but the CSS can do with some refactoring. But I don't want to nitpick here too much. I'm thinking about the bigger picture here and thinking about the larger, what can I say, the larger feature. And one can always refactor and iterate on this. But yeah, the CSS is not as impressive as the React code was. To be fair, it's quite a different, what can I say, thinking model, so to speak, when you're thinking about CSS and you're thinking visually as opposed to more mathematically and like, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'll give it a break, but the CSS, if I wanted to nitpick here, but I don't want this video to be how many ever, like 10 hours or something. So I'm gonna say yes, let's go. So maybe now it's gonna start thinking about all right, so suggest, oh, so the button. Okay, cool. So this is the one that it's using a button, which is already great. It's not using a div. So if that's a win. Button type button clause, just do unclick areas pop-up dialog. Sure. Okay. Right, what does it want to do now? So bash encoder, suggest a button, create something. Yeah. Okay, so this is probably CSS for the button. Okay. It's adding its own outline essentially using the box shadow. Alright, I'll allow it. Okay. So I was looking at my app.css and seeing if there's any modification that needs to be made. So far I haven't run out of my $5, I guess. So far so good. All right, let's see what's happened here. So it's gone into app.jsx, it's brought in our tool and our dialog, and is suggested dialog open, all right, using state for that. Set suggest dialog open, handle close, okay. Then div class header container logo adds the button to it. Guess it's going to write some CSS to use flex to position these guys, and then add a little comment there. Suggest tool dialog is open, is suggest on close handle. Yeah, that's good. Very impressed so far. CSS needs work, but other than that, good so far. I'm very curious about when we get to, there we go. Display flex, space between, item center, margin bottom, padding. Again, it's not using logical properties like margin block end, and for the padding, using like padding block and padding inline, for example. But in general, it's okay. Also, the order of the properties is in alphabetical. I might not even be doing this in this this project because I started this quite a while ago. I do not see a style length, so I'm probably not, so I can't blame it for that. I'm really curious when we get to the netlify function part. Okay, so that's where we are now. All right. Let's create the netlify serverless function to handle the full submission. First, we need to create the directory structure. Okay. And that is correct. Netlify functions. Should it be .netlify? No, I think it's fine. We'll figure it out. It's finagling. Nice. So we've been working together now for about 20 minutes. So let's see. Woof, there's a lot going on here. All right. A lot of this I'm probably just going to have to be like, I think this will work. Let's see. It's bringing OctoKit, that's great. Form data, require form data. Node fetch, that's interesting. Node supports fetch, so I'm not sure why. I'm also not sure why it's not writing it as ESM. It could be that one of these other things isn't ESM ready yet. That's interesting. I wonder if I should push back here. I'm going to read through the rest, but I wonder if I should push back and say, let's go for using ESM and probably avoiding node fetch and just using fetch as supported by node. Let me think about it. Only allow post requests. Method not allowed. Validate tile URL description. Okay, it's doing validation again. That's good. Missing required fields. It would be good if it said which fields are missing. Tags. Handle case where tags might not be valid JSON string. Interesting, because it does convert what comes from the input field to an array. But I mean, better safe than sorry, right? So I think that's okay. Initialize the GoUp API. Okay, I would have to set environmental. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, data. Okay. Get content. Okay. Use the main branch. Max ID plus 1. Method max tools map tool. Okay. Yeah, this doesn't really matter that much, as long as it matches in the JSON. That looks fine. Stream pipeline. Create write stream, okay. Create a commit. Interesting. Oh, I see. Okay. Create new branch. Like, I don't know OctoKit. I haven't used it in a long time, so I'm gonna have to see whether these things work. In theory, it should work. Some of these sound familiar, like creator update. That kind of stuff sounds familiar to me. Sure. Create a pull request. Send email. You have to, one will have to, yeah, okay, we'll have to update that. Maybe. I mean, do you want to make this edit to suggest tool.js? let's try this. Let's try this. While I think the code proposed looks good, I have not used AutoKit in a long time, so I trust you. I do wonder why you did not write this using ESM, and why you are importing node fetch as opposed to using the natively supported fetch in Node.js. Also, let's skip the email part. Thinking about it again, this is not of much value. Clauding. Okay, let's see. You make excellent points. Let's rewrite the notify function using ESM and the native fetch API. Also remove the email part as requested. Okay. Import AutoKit, FS, path, pipeline, MakerBench, export, async function handler. That is correct. Method not allowed. Form data. Yeah, it's still like that to be, but it's fine. That's like the kind of stuff that I would address in a review, for example. It'd be nice if you know which fields are missing. But I guess for that you'll need quite a bit more code. And this is like a backup. It'll still be nice. It would still be nice. Okay. I think the rest looks pretty much the same. Branch my Redux. Let's continue with the process. Okay. Helper function to parse multi-part async. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't have this the previous time. Sometimes in production use a proper multi-part parser. What the hell is this doing? Is it using parse multi-part? Because this is just returning an empty object at the moment. Parse multi-part form. Is it using that? Yeah, it is. Okay, so now again, the bulk of the code looks good, but at the end there is a utility function called parse multi-part form. Parse multi-part form, which is used earlier in the code, I do see the comments and the comments, but right now this function will prevent this feature from working as it simply initializes an empty object and returns it. Could you implement this using one of the suggested libraries, i.e. busboy or formidable busboy, formidable. I mean, maybe it will work with that, I don't know. But if it just returns an empty object, then there's nothing to destructure out of it. So it can't work with that. Let's see what it did. So right, let's implement a parse multipart form function using busboy, which is a popular and reliable library for parsing multipart form data. This will make function actually work instead of just returning an empty object. Okay. Busboy. Let's have a look at busboy. I've never in my life heard of busboy. Busboy npm. Let's see. A Node.js module for parsing incoming HTML form data. Last published 3 years ago. Oof. Okay. Don't know how I feel about that. I might push back on that. Let's see here. Let's see. Thank you for implementing the parse functionality, but I see that busboy was last published, right? Last published 3 years ago. This makes me a little nervous as it is clearly not maintained and might contain nasty bugs or security issues. Is there another library we could use? I notice here that I'm not using the latest, but it's like, can't be that outdated. I installed it this morning. Let's see, that's a great point about busboy being outdated. Let's look at a more actively maintained library. Formidable. Let's see. Formidable. "4 months ago, okay, that looks a lot better. All right. If you have any how-to kind of questions, please read. And not just for parsing data, especially file uploads. Nice. Okay, this sounds a lot better. Let's look, here we go. Parse, multi-part, max file size, filter, part, uploader, okay. We'll have only write to temp. Probably. Returns a new promise. 64 encoded bodies, command says, okay. Alright, I'm gonna just, let's move forward. Okay, name MakerBench functions. I haven't done it like this before. I normally add the dependencies directly to the parent project, but wait. Netlo 5 functions, dependencies. In your root package JSON. Okay, so you could put it there. So one option is to include your dependencies in your root. That's what I've always done. If you have a second package that's in your functions directory, then you can chain their installation as part of your build command using that. So I guess you have to do npm I and then cd into the other one, and then let's say, would it not be cleaner and possibly less all-time complexity to include these dependencies in the package.json, the root of the project. It would be cleaner and more efficient to add these dependencies. I always wonder with these LLM like chatbot thingies or fellow coders if it's agreeing with me because it is a good idea, or whether it's just agreeing with me. I'm always concerned about that. But anyway, it would be cleaner, more creating separate one. Let's update. Okay, sweet. Let's go. Alright, this is our netlify npm run build. Not sure about that redirects at the end, but maybe. Okay, I'm gonna accept this. This is a test. Okay, let's see what it's doing. So let's create a test for a new feature. Test file for the suggest tool. Okay, so test expect. Suggest the tool functionality. You should open and close the suggest tool dialog. Go to the home page, click the button, get by role, nice. Yeah. Okay. Form validation works, okay. And title is required, okay. Fill in, submit, okay. Wait page, get by label, URL, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Vibing. All right, let's see what it wants to do. So get add source app, app.jsx, suggest tool button, suggest tool, netlify, toml, package JSON. Yeah, that looks like everything. Git commit, add suggest tool. Commit implements a new feature that allows users to suggest a tool button in the header, a dialog format fields for tool details, client-side validation, netfile service function, integrate with GitHub to create pull requests automatically, test for the new functionality. Co-authored by Claude. Nice. Okay. Run lint. Do I have that? Indeed I do. Honking. Ah, it's okay. Interesting. It's importing prop types, but it's not using it. Let's see what happens. I feel like the linting should moan. Ah, here we go. Okay. npm run lint. Wait, what? The remaining errors are existing. Oh, oops. Okay. Right, let's see here. Add a button in the header, style to match the application design, suggest a tool, create a modal dialog using native HTML, implement, designed, aria proper labels, and tests. So it's asking me if there's anything specific about the implementation. So I'd like me to explain. So or any additional improvements you'd like to make. Let's start with the first thing. Can you please resolve the ESLint errors that was still present? Nice. Okay. Thanks so much. A couple of things. First, what is left for me to do? How do I test the end-to-end solution implementation? Is there anything I need to do on the Netlify side? Okay, let's see. GitHub, create a GitHub personal access token with permissions to create branches and PRs added to an environment variable in Netlify's dashboard. Okay. Let me ask it, please write this to a do.md file at the root of the project, but also add it to git ignore so it is not added to source control. For the moment, this looks good. I guess the changes still need to be pushed to GitHub and a pull request opened, or have you done this already? I haven't pushed the changes or create a pull request yet. That's something you'll need to do. Here are the commands to push your branch and create a pull request. Thank you. I will view the code again and test the functionality. If I encounter any if I encounter any problems, I will be sure to ping you. $2.91, not bad. How do I exit so I can try this out? Close. Can I ask it? How do I exit the CLI? Okay. $3. Let's see. It's that. Okay, so there's those two things still missing. Let's see. npm run dev. Here's the button. The logo is somehow missing. Here's our dialog. Title. So okay. I mean, I'll need to fix up some of the CSS, and of course it's not following the colors that it was using in other places, so there's a little bit of work there. Now, what we can try, also, I don't know why the... Okay, this is something else. Let's stop this one. Let's try netlify dev. Ooh, let's see what happened. Import formidable from, oh, wait a minute, I think. Okay, let's try again. Okay. Okay. Try something. Testing tool. HTTPS example.com. This is the first test. Add more. some tag. Let's grab a, I don't want something huge. Let's try this one. Let's leave that alone. Failed to fetch. Okay. So it fell over here. Interesting. This is a problem with Netlify CLI, not your application. Reading content length. I wonder if this is a problem with Formidable. Using Formidable inside, what should we call it, with Netlify functions. Okay, let's try this. I just tested out a new feature we developed a moment ago. When submitting the suggest tool form locally using Netlify dev, I get the following error. Oops. The error in the form, parsing logic. The function is trying to read content length, but they're missing in the request. Let's fix the parse multiform function by properly configuring Formidable with the headers. Okay, worth a try. Try running it again and submitting the form. Okay. Oh yeah, I have to press goodbye if you need further. Okay. Let's see. Testing tool. Just a test. Whoops. Test. Oh, failed to fetch. Ah, it's still the same error. Cannot read properties of undefined. Suggested tool on turn 19. Let's see. Here. I've never used Formidable, so I have no idea whether it's doing something wrong. I'll have to read up on it. I also don't know if you can use Formidable with Netlify functions. Netlify functions. Netlify functions. Well, seems like people are using it. maybe we don't even need maybe we don't even need formidable. Then again, I can just say that. Yeah, this isn't JSON though. Okay, but people are using it, so it should be possible. What happens in the browser? Let's see. Oops. Wait. Okay, so okay, let's try. I'm going to try it without a logo and just see if that changes anything. Nope. Okay. I'm going to try once more. I am still getting the following error. Issues in the form parsing code, looking at the error message, trying to read. Yeah. Problem is in parse multipart around line 212 to 214. Event.headers may not have the expected structure. So when the code tries to access, it fails. Ensure headers exist and normalize. If event headers. Maybe. I'm not too sure. I'll try this out. If this also doesn't handle cases where the body might be undefined or null. Okay. Makes sense. Okay. Okay, what the heck happened here? Provide more debugging and develop message error processing. Node production. Okay. All right, let's try it out. Well, nope. Well, this is different, isn't it? Incoming request. Accept encoding. Content length. There is a content length here. Here is some more context, but the error is the same. Do you see content length in the logging though? Again, I haven't used Formidable, so YOLO. Let's try it out. Oop. Not what I want to do. Nope. Nope. Okay, I'm going to try one more thing. Basically, I'm just going to give it this and say, is there a way that we can avoid using Formidable? I still get the error. Is there a way to avoid using something like Formidable, or is this why? Because are uploading a file. We are potentially uploading a file. Now it's going back to right headers. I'll try. If this fails, then I'll have to figure this out myself. Why is it removing Formidable? Oh boy. Yeah. Maybe it's going to change everything else now, because it's removing Formidable there. I'm assuming it is rewriting the code. Okay. That is a big rewrite. Let me give this a go. Okay. Error processing tool suggestion. Let's see what happened. Okay, this makes sense because this is the stuff that it needs, the token and everything. Okay, I guess I'll do one more review. I'll deploy it to Netlify, create the token and everything, and then I will try it out. I'll have to change some of the CSS as well and stuff like that. So this is quite a lot. But I have to say my overall takeaway from this is really interesting. I can't say that I have or don't have a working feature here yet. There's some stuff, especially the CSS, where I would say the tool can get much better at it. Also, it somehow did not figure out that there's existing like colors and things like that the button should, for example, have a certain color, a certain style. I'm pretty sure I have like utility classes or even a button component it could have used. Okay, not a button component, but you know, I feel like there's some stuff there in the CSS that it could have figured out and reused. So that's some work I have to do. Then it's interesting that it first wanted to use a library that is way out of date, like 3 years ago was the last publish. Then we went for formidable and kind of iterated and hit the same problem over and over again, try to solve it. And this is not like, we humans also do this. We try something and then it fails and then you kind of like, I think this is the problem. You try to get the same error. Expected, kind of. But then in the end, it looks like we didn't need any of those libraries and we could just use Node for it, which also goes back to the earlier thing where it originally wrote it in CommonJS instead of ESM. It imported Node fetch instead of just using fetch that's already supported in Node. So, but all in all, I've been at this now for about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes. It's cost me roughly $4 maybe by now, and it helped. It got me quite a way. For this specific feature, I think it was worth it. It'd be interesting to see once I add the GitHub token whether the GitHub stuff actually works, because right now it's probably failing because of that missing token. So I cannot say that the way it's using OctaKit is correct. So what I'll do is I'm going to wrap up this video here. Very impressed by a lot of the things. I'm impressed by the React, not surprised by it, because I think these tools are really good at writing React because there's so much code they've ingested. But all in all, I think it's good. It was interesting for me to do this. I've been meaning to do something like this for quite some time, so I'm glad I did it. Not scared for my job, but I do feel that this is a great co-worker, so to speak. I wish it was more affordable, but you know, $4 to get a feature, maybe over the line, I wouldn't say is that bad, to be honest. you know, I would have paid a human being a lot more than $4, of course, to do this. Might have gotten better results, especially with the CSS, and the way things look and stuff like that. But this was a really good experience, and I'm looking forward to using this more going forward. I might change what I expect out of it. I do also think that giving it that spec file at the beginning made a big difference. But yeah, good. I hope you found this interesting to watch along. It's very, very long. So, you know, I hope you jumped around and didn't just try to sit with this whole thing. Maybe have it on the side, and it's not that bad. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's not that late, but it's late. So, signing off. I will leave a comment under the video and links to any like pull requests and stuff like that, and I will let you know if I got this feature over the line. I will get it over the line, but did I use Claude more to help me get it over the line, or did I just take it over the line myself from here? Really cool experience. I would love to know if you've used it, if you have ideas of how you would like to use it. Let me know in the comments. And if you like the video, please like. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, let me know, and subscribe by kind of signaling that to me. And yeah, have fun, build cool stuff, and speak to you soon. Bye.